welcome to Tape Stuck, an ASMR show about men that's got swords. I feel like a
What?
lot of our shows slash movies have been guys with swords. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I mean, guys with swords are cool. I don't know what to tell you. Like that. That's just cool. That's like the coolest thing in my head. So I'm always like wanting to watch things that are guys with swords. Like,
Yeah. Sorry, the Champloo opening is playing in front of me, so it looks like bombs are going off for the video. Yeah,
it's a
I'm
cool
just kind of
thing.
like I like looking at the thing, um, just to kind of like refresh myself slightly. And yeah, the items in question is the first half-ish of Samurai Champloo. Half-ish. We're only going to cover the first like 11 technically episodes, but like 12 is a recap.
Yeah.
Um, so and then 13 and 14 is a one two part. Um, but yeah, you love this show. Tell me your background with it. Like, tell me everything that you think about the show. Just on a top and line up, and I'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I don't even remember how I got on this show. I just discovered it. I know exactly how. I was listening to music on YouTube, and I found the ending theme of this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this song is beautiful. What is this? And what is this related to? And I found out it was the ending for this show. I'm like, okay, I gotta
Mhm.
watch this show. This was like years
Yeah.
ago, and yeah, and I like binged the whole thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. But I haven't actually watched it since that first like watch through. So this is my second like time watching through it. So
Mhm.
now I own it on DVD. So, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Okay. Yeah. I knew about the show for a long time. I have tried multiple times to watch this. Multiple times. Not because I haven't, you know, not liked what I've seen. I've watched the first, and I think it's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'll watch the first one of these, and if it hooks me, I'll keep going. And then I've just gone a long time not watching the second or third. I go like, okay, I need to restart. You know what I mean? Like I need to get into the show. And now finally on like my fourth or fifth attempt, I finally got in. And you know, I've seen Cowboy Bebop. I'm very familiar with
Cowboy Bebop's good.
Watanabe's work. Watanabe also did. I want to say he did Lazarus, right? Besides Bebop and this, and
Yeah.
he did Carol and Sunday, maybe. I forget what he did. A couple other shows. Super Crooks, I think he might have been involved. Maybe I'm just talking out of my rear. But he's involved with a lot of big shows, kind of with like a
Yeah, he did
like a
Space
Studios.
Dandy.
Space Dandy. Okay,
Yeah.
the guy with the pompadour. Yeah, okay, Space Dandy. But yeah, my background is just I've tried starting this thing multiple times, and I'm finally getting to it. And I'll say I like it. It's good. It's a good show. I don't feel like I'm like head over heels for anything, but I feel like hindsight might do me well, like to watch this whole thing through, and then like reminisce going back.
Yeah.
Like the next episode of these, I might get, I might have that final feeling of what I think about the show. I think the structure of the show is very Monster of the Week, like you put,
Mm.
which can be good for people, can be bad for people. I prefer shows that like have a story end to end. And, I'm okay with Monster of the Week stuff, but like
Like
building up
it's
every episode is it's not sometimes not my cup of tea. Personally.
yeah, it progresses its story every episode, but it also has like a self-contained subplot inside of every episode.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like every story is building the characters, which is
Yeah.
good. I like the characters very,
Yes, it is
very
very
much.
much
So
a
I like.
character show. If you don't like the characters, you're not gonna like this show. And luckily, these characters are very likable.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess let's talk about them.
Hmm.
Of the three main cast members, Mugen,
Yep.
there's Gene, and then there's Fu. Who's your favorite out of the I have one.
That's really tough for me, but I have to go
They're
with
all really good.
Mugen. I think Mugen's just so
Mugen.
cool.
I honestly, I'm kind of a Fu guy. I
Yeah?
like Fu.
She's
I
funny.
like her because like she's got a lot of she's honestly the backbone of the show a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
She's the glue that like
She's
holds the plot together. Like there wouldn't be a reason for them to do their journey without Fu, basically.
right. Yeah, there's a lot of good comedy bits with her, but they never play her character for like I don't know, like the guys aren't like salacious. It's they're played like comrades or she's hired them, you know.
Yeah, it's
Um,
saying everyone like else like around them is like after her basically, but like the two like main guys are just like, oh no, we're just bound by duty to help this girl because she helped us out.
right, right, for sure. And yeah, I think so too.
Hmm.
I yeah, the story kind of is sprinkled throughout, like we're
Hmm.
mentioning, because it is so monster. Like you're just kind of like honestly, if you want to break it down, like stories kind of happen to them. They're like always out of money. They're always broke, and they're like starving like every other. Kind of funny. It's like the great uniters. Like I'm broke and I'm hungry, and that's how they get into all their problems. You know, they're always pawning off like swords and glasses and stuff just to get a quick meal, and they always end up getting it back. Yeah, it's that fact is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like the emotional core of the story is Fu. I think I agree. Um, but yeah, I guess you know you like Mugen. I like Fu. Jin. What's your take on Jin or
Oh, I
Jin
really
or
like Jin
whatever?
too. It's hard to choose between those two. And I think that with him, he's just a bit more, I guess, standoffish, and like he doesn't reveal, his intentions as much as Mugen, and I like that. Although I will say, you get more of Jin's like background and backstory earlier than you do of Mugen, even though Mugen's like this like sort of bombastic character, and I think that's
Hmm.
um, really interesting because like Jin's like this reserved character, but then we get his like pieces of his story are coming together, and like pieces from his past are coming together, but then Mugen's over here, and like we get like no pieces or like characters from his past whatsoever in like these first
Right.
12 or so episodes. So
Yeah. So like the back end, you'd say is more Jin focused in some way.
the front end is more like Jin focused. Like we've been seeing a lot of like Jin, and then if I remember right, the back end might reveal more of
Like more of his
Mugen.
backstory, I guess, is
Yeah,
towards the end, right?
yeah,
Okay.
more of
Yeah,
Mugen
because
stuff is back. I think.
okay, because initially we were splitting these 13 and 13 because it's 26, but the episode for 13 is a two-parter, so it's 13, 14, and that really gets into some of Mugen's backstory
Yep, yep,
with him and his
absolutely.
village and
Yep.
all the bandits and
So
stuff.
that's why
And
I'm
you know, we
saying
won't
like
talk.
the back end
Yeah,
is more. That's why this front end is like introducing us to like Fu and Jin, and Mugen's just kind
the
of like
world.
the world, and then Mugen's just kind of like running around, in this world. But we don't. We get to see his character, but not his like backstory, basically.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, I think it's interesting because I feel like Mugen, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like he is styled after Spike's bit. Like he kind of brings about that sort of not character archetype because he's not like slick and cool and got it all together. Like that's not what it is. He's a very different character from Spike, but like it's really his hair and like his look, his very like slim, gaunt look that reminds me of Spike, and you can't help but think of that because. Um, but like once you actually drill down and watch the episodes, he's very different from Spike Speed. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I mentioned once when we were talking that it kind of reminded me of Cowboy Bebop is because of the Mugen's design, right?
Yeah.
Um, no, because I guess the closest other one would be like Fu for being Faye or something, but like she's not, she's nothing like Faye, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the shows, have a little bit of shared DNA. It's hard not to see,
how could they not? Yeah.
but I think in terms of like, you know, actual like characters and messaging and things like that, like they're very like night and day. Like Mugen is a lot more like what's the word? I guess he's a lot more like berserker than a
He's
Spike.
like kind of like a rabid animal.
Yeah. He in a lot of ways, like he really is just like this like wild card character, and that's definitely not Spike at all. So that the
No,
comparisons kind of
Spike's-
end
yeah.
like visually, like
Yeah, right. And I mean, I appreciate your forgiveness in that fact when I mentioned that, because I'm like, he's kind of the same. You're like, no, well, yeah, you're
no.
right, actually. And honestly, like something that I've noticed, and since we're talking about characters, like everyone has got a different fighting style. Fu almost never really fights, but for Mugen, since we're kind of talking, he's got this like interesting, like I don't know, breakdancey slash
It's really
capoeira
cool.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like always on all fours or kind of like kicking his legs. I
Yep.
really like that. He's got these like thick sandals on that are really cool. They're kind of like clog like. It's fun.
Yeah, no, yeah, and
Yeah,
he uses them like all the time for like catching swords and things like that. Like
right, right.
that's where like the break dancing like comes into play. Like he's able to like disarm people basically with his sandals, which is super cool.
Right, and it kind of feeds into the hip hop kind of stylings of this show a little bit. Just that whole kind of look and feel. And I gotta say, the opening titles, it might be like top 2 to 3 for me ever in anime.
It's super good.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's that song. It's Mugen. Like I love when Mugen's running with down. His eyes are crazy,
Yeah.
and it cuts to Jin where it's like gold and blue.
Well, that
I
and
just
that's
love
not really
that
like a
juxtaposition.
hip hop opening. That's more like a rhythm and bass sort of opening.
Well,
But
it's very
yeah.
it's very hip hop adjacent.
Yes,
It's like very
yep.
that.
Yep.
Even though it's not completely like it's got like the record's got like it's got that in there.
Well, they've got that throughout the show, like the ow,
They do.
like oh man, it's so cool.
Yeah, and that's something they also like. Not, I mean, we'll talk about episodes kind of as we feel like. They kind of like that's the preamble for the show. They're like, this is not historically like accurate.
No, nope.
And you like because you see guys with like I don't know modern glasses on and do rags and stuff, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
they're
there's
kind of just playing
guys
fast
with
and
like
loose.
mohawks and like all
Yeah.
sorts of like yeah, they're just having fun with it. They're like they want to tell this samurai sort of story, but have like these sort of hip hop trappings mixed in there to make it interesting, and because that kind of culture just really fits well with the story they're wanting to convey in this show.
Yeah.
That it's just like a perfect marriage of like those two concepts, like the hip hop counterculture with the oppressive samurai regime that is Edo Japan. So
Yeah. You think it'd be like I don't know. You think it'd be like mint and coffee or something? Like, oh, these couldn't possibly mix well, but like if assembled in the right way, it's like delicious.
yeah,
They kind of like complement each other in a weird off-kilter way, like a Asian American fusion or something like
Yeah.
that, or Asian Mexican fusion, whatever you want. It kind of reminds me of something like that. And yeah, like you mentioned, kind of the time period. So like a little bit of trivia is this is supposed to take place around like 1780 in terms of like presentation and all that. So like I can't remember. Do they show guns at any of this show? They might once, right?
they might in the early episodes, but they definitely do in the later episodes. I know.
Okay. I think they do when they're confronting like the magistrate stuff. I think they do have muskets on them, and that kind of also reminds me of another samurai show, Blue Eye Samurai, where like
That's
that's
a really
the
good
entire.
one. Yeah.
Oh my god, that show's so good. I watched that this year, and I'm just
Yep.
it's so good.
Yep.
But yeah, it's all about like weapons and stuff, like the invasion of their land and honestly like raping the countryside, if you pardon the conjecture. Like
Yeah.
it's that sort of idea, you know, um, with the entire like white invasion, even if it's like Irish invasion. of
Yeah.
Japan.
And there's
So
a
you just kind of see that influence here too. So
yeah, there's a little bit of that influence in here, but this wants to tell more of a story about like the um, the life of these like fully Japanese characters, and then just have
yes,
like these like foreign characters.
pockets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mixed in there, like the episode with the Dutch guy. I think he was Dutch,
The
right?
Dutch guy. Yeah. He was from Holland, didn't he say?
Yeah.
He said he was
Yep.
from Holland.
Yep. And that makes
Yeah, he
sense
was.
because that is actually historically accurate. That the Japanese did
Yeah.
trade with exclusively the Dutch and had
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like Dutch studies before the whole opening of the country. So
Yeah, and it was like he said he was with like the East Asia Company.
yeah,
Which
East
makes
India
sense
Company,
because
Dutch East India Company.
East India, sorry, East India. I apologize.
Yep.
It was kind of like a conglomeration
Yep.
of kind of like nationalities to do these trade businesses.
Yep.
Um, yeah, sorry, East India. But yeah, like little pockets of different nationalities you kind of see pop up. Like you look at Japan at this time, like a lot of people, because usually like Japan was very isolated, and didn't get populated by outside influence for honestly years and years. It kind of was like in its own weird stasis
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of its history. Until you see like people that want to do trade with them that have like encountered the kind of island people. They're like, hey, do you want to trade? We can't speak your language. You have like the Spaniards that come try to proselytize to them and turn them to Christianity and stuff. Like you see that in like Shogun.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the Dutch as well, doing like exclusive trade with them. Like
Yes.
that sort of influences.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like the Spanish side, that's like Sengoku pre-Sengoku period. Because
Right.
after the Sengoku Jidai, was when they like closed off the country to foreign trade, and like nobody leaves the
Right.
country. Nobody, the country's just a closed off country basically after that. Sengoku Jidai ends and the shogun is put in power, and that shogunate establishes like the samurai system and the class system and all that sort of stuff. And this is sort of like, this show falls under like the sort of end of that, like this is at like the tail end of that sort of period of closed offness. And so like this is right before America comes in, is like open your borders, and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it's like you see like a few samurai scattered about, but like they're not organized like they used to be, and
Yeah.
like a bunch of crime has kind of come into the fold here.
Yep.
Like they're dealing with like honestly mob bosses with samurai kind of at the helm too,
Yep.
which is kind of cool. Just because they kind of see how it's going, they're like, well, we can't keep up how it's been, so we're gonna kind of just move with the trend here, right?
Yep.
This guy's taking over this place, and we're gonna hang out with him. Get
Yep.
paid some fat cash, right? But yeah, it's interesting. Like that Sengoku period, Shogun show, that new Assassin's Creed is dead set in that era too.
Is that okay?
So it is like you literally start with Yasuke, who's he was basically a slave to the Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
being taken to the shogunate, or at least like a advisor or something like that, and they're speaking. What do they speak? I forget what they speak. Anyway, they're speaking a different language.
Was it Portuguese?
It's not Spanish. It's Portuguese. Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
it was Portuguese.
Yeah.
And when you listen to the dub of it, it has like this dub, which is interesting in Assassin's Creed. It does a mixed Portuguese Japanese. So
Yeah.
like Yasuke can speak both. So he's talking to his masters in Portuguese and the Japanese in Japanese. It's kind of interesting to see that. So like Shogun reminded me of that this sort of era, and Blue Eye Samurai too. So
Mm-hmm. It's a
yeah,
cool
yeah,
era.
really fascinating
Yeah,
era. Yeah, very fascinating
it's.
era covered.
I mean, yeah, it's quite a dark era, really. You know, um, but it definitely has a lot of like um, cultural pieces that are really interesting. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and we'll
but
definitely. I think we'll talk about like that darkness too,
mhm.
because you see like you like the prostitute in 10 or 11 or something,
Yeah,
her having to leave her very cushy lifestyle to work, um, or people being cursed to die, because of a deal gone wrong. Like, hey, don't kill my kid, I'll kill myself for that.
yeah,
Stuff like that, or
yeah,
hey, my mom is sick, I need medicine, gets killed over a lot of
yeah,
stuff. um, there's just a lot of tragedy, just like normal daily tragedy
yeah.
that's
It's
not
just
the case anymore.
normalized tragedy was, and
Right.
that was the case in just that time period in general. Like, and I mean, a lot of parts of the world that is still the case. There's daily tragedy in a lot of parts of the world, um, and so it's
Yeah,
good
like
to be informed and aware of those things that talk about them, and even now tragedies happen daily.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's more widespread than ever, the coverage of these things. Like,
yeah,
you can see it if you're looking for it. Like in Saudi Arabia, there's still atrocities being committed,
hmm,
stuff like that.
yeah,
It seems like downright medieval.
yeah,
um, but yeah, like, speaking of culture, like, kind of talking about the name Champloo, it's kind of an interesting bit of trivia. So, like, the word Champuru is Chanpuru, is used in the series' original title, and it means something mixed in Okinawa. It's also the name of one of the Okinawan dishes,
hmm.
which is a mixture of Okinawan, Japanese, Chinese, and and it's kind of like a thing talking about the show, because there's a lot of people that
Yep,
worked on the show, influences, a lot of different music,
yep,
mixture of cinema, Western. It's very Western, with its very like Monster of the Week sort of,
yep,
um, and it's got a lot of buddy comedy, that sort of, like, it's a perfect mix of a bunch of. It's like a melting pot of ideas and vibes, you know.
yeah.
And yeah, I really like. But
It's
yeah, let's talk. Sorry, yeah, continue. Go ahead.
yeah. We can probably talk like episode by episode a bit, but before that, let's take a
Yeah, let's
quick
do that.
break.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. We'll be back with more Samurai Champloo.
Champloo. Back to Champloo. Let's talk about a couple things that we liked about the show. Since there are so many episodes to cover, and honestly, we're pretty spent, it looks like, we're going to talk about our favorite parts
Yeah.
of each episode. Just kind of like a cursory look. This isn't a whole breakdown show like Hell's Paradise was. I think it's okay sometimes. But we were trying to figure out the format for that thing. So, you know, we're gonna do it a different way this go around, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah, let's start with this first episode. Just kind of like overview on the intro to this thing. Kind of the impetus for the entire adventure with the tea
Yeah.
house and the magistrate's son and stuff. I guess, what's your favorite part of this episode? Mine's easy. I know this. I know this one. This one's very easy.
Yeah, I think I just like the battle between Mugen
Yes,
and
that's it.
Jin,
That's it.
like
Yeah,
in that in the whole place like burning down around them. Like, oh my gosh, it's such a cool set piece to start off this
it's
show.
so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. Like, so the beginning of this episode is like they're like being like put to execution almost.
Yeah.
And then it's like we're going back in time,
Hmm.
and
They do like
they
the
go
whole
back
like
to the
rewind, like
wah, wah, wah,
yeah,
they go
yeah,
back
yeah,
in time, and yeah, it follows Fu in the tea house basically, and she like pisses off the magistrates, or the son of the town magistrate, right? She like doesn't she spill something on him? I think she
yeah.
does.
She spills tea
Um,
on him.
yeah, and he gets pissed off about it. He's like, "Oh, don't you
Well,
know who I am?"
I think he's like, I'm
It's
gonna
one of
take one
those.
of your fingers or something like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And
But he's
then,
like, he's acting too cool for school when he shows up, though. Yeah.
yeah. And then I think it's, at first, like, it's, Mugen is there in the tea house, and he's like, hey, you pay me, I can get rid of this guy for you. Like, that's not a problem.
Right, and she sees it as an opportunity. Maybe like that's the first seed that plants in her brain. I think of like, oh, you can just pay people to do stuff for you. All right, and
Well, I don't even think he wanted money. I think he just wanted food. So,
that's right. Yeah, that's
yeah.
like we said. That's the impetus for a lot of their adventures is
Yeah.
they're hungry.
Yeah,
You know,
they,
like,
they're
oh my
just
God, I'm out
hungry.
of money.
Most of the time, they have to go do something because they're hungry and need food. Like, that's such, like, yeah,
yeah.
it's so down to earth. It's awesome. Like, of course, yeah, they have to go find a job to go get food. Like, that's,
Yeah.
that, like, and I feel like a lot of shows don't emphasize that part of a journey, the
Yeah.
need for food. You need food on a journey, you know?
Yeah,
And so,
it's like just understood in a lot of shows that like, oh yeah, of course they eat, of course they sleep.
of course
You
they
never see
eat and
it,
sleep,
you know?
yeah. This show is like, oh no, we're gonna show you the characters actually, like, trying to procure their next meal by, and that's like the entire, like, impetus for a lot of these episodes. Is they're just trying to get enough to get their next meal.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And this episode is just it's fairly simple. Like it starts with Fu kind of, you know, bebopping around her tea house and she encounters the Magistrate's son. Mugen gets involved and like once he starts a ruck, it's like Jin shows up and it's like immediately like all that stuff happens in the very
Yeah.
beginning of that episode.
Yeah.
The tea house burns down and everything. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
god, this is something else. And like Fu's like, I guess I'm gonna kick rocks and not work here anymore because there's no building left. Kind of,
Yeah.
you know, which you know, fair. That's a logical step to take, right?
Yeah.
So does she ever mention why she wants to find the samurai that was the sunflowers? I don't know if she ever says anything specific.
Not yet. So,
Okay, so
stay
she will?
tuned.
Okay,
Stay
I'm not.
tuned. Yep.
Okay, I'm not privy about it.
Yep. Just stay tuned.
But
That
yeah.
all resolves eventually. Obviously, that is the main impetus of the show. Is the samurai
Right,
who
okay.
smells of sunflowers.
Yeah, and you know, at the point we finished it, this batch of episodes, we haven't gotten to anything
Yep.
close to that, right?
That is a
Remind
cool
me-
like
Yeah,
theme for the like MacGuffin, I guess. That was just this guy that's like a samurai who smells of sunflowers. You know, like that's cool.
wandering samurai.
Yeah.
They kind of go from town to town looking for this dude. But yeah, so this is the episode that it took me a long time to watch, and I've seen it multiple times, right? But remind me how they got captured in general. Mugen and Jin, did they get in trouble for burning down the tea house? I forget what the thing was.
Yeah, they get surrounded because they kill the magistrate's son.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
that's what it was.
they kill his
Yeah, and
son.
then, he shows up. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I don't remember who kills his son. He might have even the son might have even just died in the fire. I don't remember, but regardless, the son dies, and so then they show up outside that and like with a huge army, and they arrest them. So.
Yeah, yeah. I like when they get they get put in the stockade or whatever you want to say. They're still like threatening each other, like I'm gonna kill you, bro. Like,
Yeah,
forget about
as
all
soon
this.
as we get out of this, I'm killing you. Like, it's so awesome. They're
Even as they go on their adventures, they're still saying this to each other, like I'm gonna be the one that kills you. Yeah.
yeah, and then Fu's like, whoa, 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 no killing until after we find my guy. Like, once we find that
for sure.
samurai that smells the sunflowers, you guys go at it, go kill each other. I don't care. But until then,
Yeah.
you're not doing that.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
And, keeping simple. She like frees them with like this really fun like comedic scene with the fireworks where she like doesn't she hide them in her shirt? That's a really good bit.
It's true. And she's bouncing around and has these fire bombs in her.
Yeah,
shirt.
she pressed it boobily. Yeah, totally. It's very funny.
It's so funny.
And she like takes the kind of government officials by surprise, steals
Yeah.
them back, and yeah, she basically like it was a coin toss, I want to say, where she's like heads I win, tails you lose, or whatever, and you got to work for me, whatever. Like if I lose, you get to fight each other, whatever, go crazy. But if I win, you got to help me find this dude, right?
Yep.
And they don't seem very invested in her situation, so they're like, yeah, whatever. As long as you lose, I get to fight him, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, they decide to postpone and hang out with her, and that's the beginning of the show. You know, I
Yep.
like how immediate everything happens. They kind of just fall into each other. You know, it's fun.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's like Jin and Mugen. They just basically go like, yeah, one of these days you're mine, brother. Your ass is
Yep.
grass.
Yep.
One of my
Yep.
favorite parts of their dynamic. You know what I mean?
It's such a good dynamic.
Um, but yeah, like if you want to put a template up for any of these episodes, it's that they're desperate for food and shelter. Like
Yes.
literally.
Yep. Almost every single episode, they need food
Right.
and shelter.
That's basically how the second episode starts in the recap.
Yep.
It's basically like they hear about for the second episode they hear about a big dude running amok or ogre. They hear it's like an ogre. Like they think it's like a magical happening kind of, right? They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, an ogre. Like is it a real ogre?" You
Mhm.
know? Yeah. That's what I think. Um but yeah, like that whole bit with the ogre was really interesting. I found him really sympathetic. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me a little bit when we watched Hell's Paradise, like that guy with the wearing the sack over his head or
Mhm.
whatever. Like he was,
Yep.
yeah, he's just misunderstood.
Yep.
You know, I feel like the ogre deserved better. I don't know. What do you think about this episode, just on top level?
Yeah. It's a great episode. A lot of characterization already is happening for all of these characters. Like with Mugen, I think Mugen runs off with a woman and is basically poisoned.
Oh, that's right.
And then
That's right.
Um, um,
Yeah, she's like working with the guy that employs the ogre too, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like this whole like three ring scheme
Yeah.
almost.
And then Jin has an assassin after him that's also with that guy, and so
Yeah, he's like involved with all of them.
Yeah.
Did he ever mention a reason why he wanted all three of them? I forget what he says.
Well,
was
he
it
was
Ryujiro.
he was he lost an arm. That's why he hated them.
Oh, that's
because,
right. That's right. He was in that brawl, wasn't he?
Yes, he was in the
In the
brawl
tea
and
house.
lost an arm in the
That's
tea
right.
house.
Doesn't Mugen cut it off? I think he cuts it off. He's
Yeah.
like the first guy he cuts.
Yep.
Is this guy?
Yep.
And he kind of comes back the next episode. Is like, I'm gonna get you for that.
Yep.
Which fair. I would
Yep.
feel the same.
Yep. So he
Definitely
devises his
rational.
whole scheme with Oni Wakamaru, with the lady, and with the assassin guy, and
Yeah.
has like the three of them sort of taking on separate pieces of this, but the poison isn't like effective enough for Mugen or whatever, and so he's able
Right.
to escape from that situation. And he ends up killing Oni Wakamaru after Fu is like, wait, actually don't kill him, he's on our side, but
Right.
he didn't get the memo in time, so
Yeah, that was really sad. Like
Mhm.
it was just one of those things where like if you communicated effectively, it would have been fine.
yeah.
But you see this a lot in shows like this where somebody's impetuous and instead of solving an issue, they like actually enact some sort of like wrongdoing without really getting the full picture. That's always heartbreaking because when it happens, like there's like a sort of realization after the fact a little bit. Like Mugen's not like totally like broken up by it or anything, but like Fu's pretty distraught.
Yeah.
Um,
Mugen,
kinda
I don't think
mediocre.
cared at all. Mugen's not the type to
No,
really care
definitely not.
about who he kills most of the time, so
I guess so. Don't spoil anything, but does that change at all? Like, does Mugen's demeanor towards people change a little bit? Because he's kind of a cold, ruthless killer.
yeah, it changed. I mean, even in these episodes, you can see him sort of starting to develop camaraderie with Jin, and even with Fu, he starts getting more to where it's not as much of an obligation for him to help her as he just wants to help her as the
Yeah,
show goes on.
yeah.
So
There's that good fight with Jin too, with them in the bamboo reeds
Mhm,
against the assassin,
mhm,
right? Isn't that the? Yeah, I think that's the scene. It's really cool looking. I love that. I love the
Yeah.
vibe of that.
It's a cool scene, and it's just so cool how he's like, "Oh, my client died. Well, we have no more business here. I'm not getting paid for this, so I'm not, gonna bother killing you."
Yeah. Well, that's basically what he says initially. He's like, "This is just business, bro. Like,
Yeah.
this, I got nothing against you.
Yeah.
But put up your dukes, like
Yep.
straight up,
Yep. That's.
Yeah. There's a lot of good establishing moments for characters here. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's the way for like an assassin character to be, is like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this if I'm not getting paid.
Right. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I guess in general, like, it's a very standard episode. It is very Monster of the Week, honestly, because of the ogre stuff. But I like the three-prong approach with the kind of the Ryujiro. That was cool. Like, he had like a three-prong plan to get rid of
Yeah,
them
yeah,
because they were
pretty.
all part of it, you know.
Yeah, and it's cool that that's like a early episode. Like that's only episode 2, and they're already like having like a whole like
Yeah.
strategy around how to take down this party. So
Right. Yeah. This kind of unwilling party, kind of,
mhm.
and like it's this bond that starts increasing the further you get. That's really interesting. But seeing it established in these early episodes is really good, especially like so like the second one. It's pretty standard for Monster of the Week, but the third one I found was the first like really interesting episode in terms of like politics. Because this is the rival gang one, right?
Yep,
With the
yep.
two sides, they kind of have different turf, right?
Yep.
Um, yeah, I really, really like this one.
Yeah.
It's a very foo heavy episode. Right?
It's a two-parter as well.
This is the two-parter, yeah. So there's a lot to this. It's
Yeah.
it's called Hellhounds for Hire, Part 1 and 2, and yeah, honestly, besides like the kind of one we end on, it's maybe the most complex episode. I would say, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like they both abandon Fu. They just like walk off. It's really good, and they kind of like end up like kind of dovetailing as the episode goes on.
Yep.
You know, like these two rival yakuza gangs, and like Mugen's hired by one of them for money
Yep.
because of course they're hungry again. That's how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the leader is Nakatomi, and like I think the bodyguard's pretty pissed about this. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
am I not good enough for you?
Yeah.
You know, I like his little arc too. Ishimatsu has a good arc for that. And then yeah, Jin works for the other side, which is kind of perfect because
Yeah.
they're both clashing anyway. These
Yeah.
two guys, you know,
Yep.
it's kind of lovely. What did you like this dynamic with the two rival gangs
Yes.
and them kind of being employed by them? What do you
Yes,
think?
it's really cool. And it totally
Yeah.
makes sense with each of their characters. Like, yeah, Mugen would get hired by, like, the upstart, and then Jin would get hired by, like, the, like, the traditionalist sort of gang.
Yeah.
So, because, like, yeah, the dynamic between these gangs is, like, one's, like, an upstart that's, like, really nasty to people and is, like, actively, like, fleecing people, and then the others like this like traditional gang that they're really just like there for, they are the town like protection, like this town doesn't have any protection without this yakuza gang, and so they're more of like, like, yeah, there is no law and order here, so we became the law and order here basically with our gang.
Yeah.
And so
And they kind of they kind of like abuse their power in some way. They do, but like you said, without having that in place, like the town would be, I think, poorer off for it.
Yeah.
Personally, that's what I think. So it's an interesting like dichotomy there, where it's just like you kind of have to have this evil influence to, secure people's livelihoods almost. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when bandits take up in like a western town or something, and they protect like local village folk,
Yep.
town folk. There's a lot of Western influence in the show, and that's like one of them that I could think of.
Well, so on that topic, Western and samurai shows have a lot of cross contamination because a lot of
They do.
spaghetti westerns are based off of Kurosawa films,
Right.
like just straight up
Right.
based off of Kurosawa films. So there's a lot of cross pollination, contamination between sort of like samurai shows and westerns, which is why I love both genres because they're very
Yeah.
similar.
Right. Right. Yeah, that definitely brings to mind like a standoff or something.
Yeah.
Like Mexican standoff or whatever you want to say.
It's like
Um,
like the whole like drawing a sword and killing someone with one
yeah, yeah,
stroke
yeah,
thing. That's a lot like drawing your pistol and killing someone with one shot.
yeah,
It's similar things. It's really a lot of similar
yeah.
themes between the two
As
genres.
as an aside, hearing you mention this is very funny. This won't be very long. I saw a TikTok today where they did that at a pool with a pool noodle. They went like this, and someone was behind him and shot water out of one end of the pool noodle. It was very good. It
That's
looked like a
awesome.
Kurosawa,
Yeah,
a little bit there. I have to show it to you at some point.
that's
But that
great.
reminded me
Yeah,
of
you
it.
have to
But
send that to me. That's
yeah,
funny.
one of the big characters in these batch of episodes, these couple, is what's his name? Sosuke. He's like the heir
Yep.
for the older Yakuza head, right?
Yep.
Um, he's up to all kinds of mischief, I guess. Um, yeah, like, is it his friend? Like, there's a lot of like brothels and prostitution happening in this
Mm-hmm.
time, right? And one of his friends is like residing there to work off debt, right? We see this later
Yep.
with another woman, right? Kind of with Jin, but this is like the first instance of seeing that, right?
Yep.
What did you think of that whole dynamic there? I found it really interesting. It's a very complex social situation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean that that's just those sort of medieval laws are if the father can't pay off his debt, then the daughter's property. So the daughter goes to the they seize your property, so it goes to the upstart sort of yakuza gang is where his daughter sent to. That was just the social dynamic back in medieval times. So
Yeah, it's just like it's so foreign. Like
yeah.
we don't have stuff like this anymore. Like their whole society and the entire construct is so odd.
Yeah.
It's completely alien to our customs to just hear that being something that you basically bartered people for debt.
Yep.
A lot of time for like slavery. It's really slavery.
Yeah,
You
it really
work
is.
this debt
Yeah.
off. You work this debt off and you're good.
Yeah.
Or like basically they can work it off and come back, which is so weird to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's just kind of the time. And yeah, this kid is trying to spring this girl throughout the episode, and things just kind of go haywire. He ends
Yeah.
up escaping, and it kind of dovetails into the next one with like it's like that gambling bit, right? Where like things go bad for Sosuke in a way where he kills somebody he shouldn't, and his dad has to pay the price, and
Mhm.
it really touched me. It was really affecting this whole gambling thing, and like Mugen also hears about like what's going on. Really, this guy wants to cut in on this guy's turf, and I forget what was this guy's major plan for the area. He has this one thing that Mugen's like not okay with. Do you remember what that was?
He just becomes like this sort of like villain of the week. Like, I'm going to take over the entirety of Japan. And Mugen's like,
Oh,
seriously?
that's right.
Like, you can't just
Yeah.
stay like small town criminal. That's I'm not interested in that. So
He's too big for his britches. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
Mugen's like, no, buddy, you're not. I'm not hanging out with you doing that. That you don't. You're not that guy.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, because he kills this gang member from the other side, the kid, the heir
Mhm.
to to Heitero's, I guess, rule as Yakuza gang member from the other side.
Yep.
They have to like gamble for his life, or his father's life, basically, or like it's like his life or the town's territory. Like that's
Yep.
kind of what happens. But like his dad like ends up sacrificing himself
Yep.
in his kid's stead because he ends up losing.
Blood
I
for
love this
blood.
bit with Fu though. This is my one of my favorite Fu bits.
Mhm.
Is when she becomes the dice roller.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of that scene.
She's
Oh my
like,
gosh.
all right, I'm ready to
Yeah,
do
she like
this.
pulls out her sleeve.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, she's like,
Oh,
all right,
I
place
love
your
it.
bets. She just
Yeah.
fits
Yeah,
right
she
into the
literally
character.
pulls down her sleeve, goes,
Yeah.
place your bets, and everyone's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, she
So
like
good.
escapes from like the brothel with
Yeah.
the girl's name is Asozu. It looks like.
Yeah, she gets.
Um,
I guess we didn't talk about that. She gets like captured, because this
Yep.
fortune teller lady like tells her that
Right.
like pots bring misfortune, and then this guy is carrying like this pot, and he drops it in front of her. He's like, "Oh, look what you made me do!
That's
now
right.
you have to pay off this debt for this vase," and
The worst.
yeah, it's actually the worst. And so she gets captured, and then But then she's got like this absolute freak going after her.
Yeah, this guy is a horn dog. He is so
Yeah.
about that. What do you say? The clothes, the ripping off of clothes. He wants to do that very badly,
Yeah.
and he starts clawing on her pretty menacingly.
Yeah, and then she sees a vase and uses the vase. She's like, "Oh, the vase that the fortune teller said." She smacks him with the vase.
I like the fortune teller here too. I like her get up. Whenever she first sees her, it's through isn't it through like a looking glass, or her eyes like really big? I like that scene for some reason.
I think
There's
she just
something
like,
about it. I was just like,
if I remember right, the fortune teller just like makes the whole thing up too. I don't remember if I remember.
yeah. She's just like trying to fleece her kind of.
Yeah,
She's,
I'm
like,
pretty
drawing
sure.
fortune,
Yeah, because she's like, well, I don't really have a whole lot of money, and she's like, well, I'll just take what you have. And she's like, okay, for this, I'll tell you this. You know.
Yeah.
It's basically
It
just
ends up being
fleecing her.
kind of bupkis, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like they're hurting for money. Like why would she just cast lots for a freaking wish? It doesn't make sense to me. But Fu, she's easily suggestible. I guess.
Easily
I don't know.
suggestible, yep.
But yeah, like the saddest part of this episode is whenever, honestly, the son's being sentenced to die because they lose that gamble.
Yeah.
And the dad commits seppuku and kills himself. It's really heartbreaking. And I figured that's how it was gonna go from the top of it. I was like, this kid's not gonna die. Like I don't think he's gonna die. And yeah, there's after that like kind of like hell breaks loose because Mugen like busts in to kind of stop everything.
Yeah.
And kind of go after the what's it, Nakatomi,
Mm-hmm.
who ends up getting killed by his kind of bitter bodyguard. He's like, you should have never stepped over me. Like you're done now. And he wasn't cool with like how things were gonna go too.
Yeah.
Whenever it was described.
Well, it was because the Nagatomi guy was like, oh, I don't care if Heitaro committed seppuku. I still win here. There's no honor in seppuku. Yeah. And the Ishimatsu guy is like, no, I'm kind of a traditionalist about this like honor stuff still, and I thought that was really honorable. You didn't think that was honorable, and so I'm just gonna kill you because clearly you don't have honor.
He actually'd him so bad he killed him. Yeah. He's like, actually, this is actually very loyal. Yeah, basically. I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I was sad that Ishimatsu got it because Mugen kills him too. It's really sad. I'm like, this guy was kind of saved the day, and Mugen's just like they have like kind of a tiff at the end there.
Well, and, Ishimatsu wants to see if he's strong enough to fight someone like Mugen, and so that's just how it went. That's just how it went. In those duels.
Seemed totally unavoidable. It seemed totally avoidable. He could have just not done it, but whatever.
He needed to do it. He needed to try and prove himself by battling Mugen. So.
Yeah, I guess.
That was just the culture.
Yeah. That's just people were picking fights left and right. It's like Dragon Ball culture where they're just like, "Are you strong enough? I don't know. Let's work out my new powers." Like that's how it feels.
I heard your porn addiction is strong. I want to fight it. Oh no, it's too strong. Have you seen that meme?
I heard your stuff is nasty, but what page are you on?
Have you seen that meme though? Where he's like, "Oh no, it's too strong." Yeah, I'll have to find it. It's so good.
That's basically the end of the episode. That everyone kind of gets back together after separating, and it's kind of like, oh, let's move on into the sunset. Next one. The episode 5 is really interesting because it's like narrated, right? It's like this police officer, isn't it?
Yeah.
This guy's all right though.
He's all right. He's all right.
He's all right. He's all right. So basically, the crux for this thing is that like. They're eating. They finally got some food. They're eating at this restaurant, and they meet this artist. He's a what's it? What do you call that practice?
Ukiyo-e. Yeah.
Ukiyo-e.
Ukiyo-e.
Okay, I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Ukiyo-e.
But yeah, the detective is Sakami Monzo the Saw. I love this guy. Can we just do a spin-off of Monzo the Saw? Yeah. This guy is so good. Yeah, he just like pops up later too in another episode. I was like. No, bring him back. Bring him back. Put him in the show. Okay, don't spoil it. Is he in more of the show? Please tell me.
I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember.
Oh, no. oh no, if this is the last I see of Monzo the Saw, I'm going to be very sad.
He probably
But he's
shows
like,
up here and there, I'd have to guess.
he does show up in one of the later episodes. I do remember that.
Yeah.
He like pops up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like doing all this like I don't know. He's doing like this beat cop routine where he's like investigating this crime ring, and he's like, I don't know. He's like talking in like the past. He's like, oh, there was a rash of killings and stuff, and it had to do with this like artist or something,
Yep.
right? It was talking about that.
Yep.
And he's like, I think I've tracked him down. You know.
Oh, I can tell
This
you,
guy,
he definitely shows up right before the finale, so.
I'm so excited. I love this guy. Let this guy be.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's like the samurai who smells of sunflowers. I don't know. I don't know anything about this guy really, but he's all right.
He
like
definitely is. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So this plays out like kind of like a narrative detective adventure, which I really love. That's kind of my biggest point about this episode is Monzo the Saw is all right with me. That's
He's
what I
funny. Yeah.
He's very funny. The actual like what's going on is like kind of interesting. It's like more Yakuza stuff. They're trying to kind of fleece the artists, you know, and go like, hey, you need to do this for us or we're gonna steal your stuff.
Yeah.
Basically. And yeah, it's basically Fu gets captured by this painter who's kind of being an unwitting accomplice for the Yakuza sort of thing. And yeah, like Mugen saves her after a bunch of fighting and stuff. Doesn't it have one of those thugs that like kind of looks really whack though?
Yeah, he's got like a
really funny.
He's got like and there's one with like a mohawk too, I think. So
yeah, this is where like this punk rock kind of comes in.
Yeah, it's wild.
Which is really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Monzo gets involved at some point. And he does his cop duty, arresting the guy. Yeah, basically like Jin was like hanging out with him too, right? I forget what was Jin like doing this whole episode. It was a very Mugen Fu episode. Remind me of the Jin kind of part of this?
Jin is playing he's playing what's the Go.
Is it Go?
He's playing Go with this old man, and this old man's like, hey, I'll give you like this really expensive coin. I forget the name of the coin now, but it's like the big coin, and they're like, he's like, I'll give you this big coin if you beat me in Go. And so
and it turns out that guy was part of the trafficking ring.
He was the one that was like the head of that trafficking ring. It was him and his wife, I think, were the ones that were running it,
that's right. Yeah, honestly, like I kind of tuned in and out of this episode because this is one of my least favorites compared to.
It's a weird
how
episode.
I feel about Monzo.
Yeah.
Sorry, Monzo. I love
Monzo the Saw is funny, but
every time he showed up, I was like, yes, more.
And he's
more.
He's got like that baton that he's like trying to like work out with. It. It's like his flop. It's so weird.
It's so weird because it's like kind of like an actual police baton. He's just like. And I'm like, what? Where'd you get this?
What is happening?
So good.
And then he's like in the barrel, and then he like gets forgotten about or something, and then he just like breaks out of the barrel, and he's like half naked. It's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Like
he's in like that Fudonchi sort of underwear thing, and he's like breaks out of that.
Right. There is a little bit of nudity in this. Like Monzo, you see a lot of Monzo here, but also Fu gets painted, and you see a little bit of her stuff.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, oh, that's very revealing, but very flattering. Thank you for this. You know.
Yeah.
With the ukiyo-e guy there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says he's going to Holland at the end, right? When he gets away in the boat.
Yes. And this is actually like a historical figure. This.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Ishikawa Morinobu. He's actually one of the biggest basically ukiyo-e, that's how it got like around the world is through his ukiyo-e stuff. So
interesting. Yeah. Okay. I had no idea that this was supposed to be a real guy.
Yeah, that was a real guy. Yep.
Gotcha. The narration at the end is like, yeah, he failed, but like his art became really popular.
Yeah, basically, yep. His art would later become popular, but he himself was never like popular. I don't think whenever he was around. So.
Right. Yeah, but in short, like I think the plot for this thing is kind of weird and a little all over the place, but Mons of the Salt. That guy's all right. That guy is all right in my book. Um, yeah. Any other points you want to kind of hit on this one before we jump?
No.
Yeah, Mons of the Salt's good. We want
Yeah.
him. More
We like Mons of
Just
the
make
Salt.
a show. Just make a show. I will watch it. He should bust out that baton and go fight like evil gentlemen. That'd be great. I love that. I love this next one. This is one of my
This is
favorites.
a really good one too. This next one, yep.
This is okay. So like, describe what's happening here with Fu. Okay, at the very beginning, they enter an eating contest. Don't they like pawn off their stuff
Yes.
to enter?
Yes,
Okay.
and
This
the
happens
guys
frequently,
pawn
this
off
idea.
their swords to enter this
Yes.
eating contest. And Jin's like, this sword's the soul of the samurai. Like, you can't just pawn off my sword and then they just like take it from him and just pawn it off anyway. He's like,
And Jin is just like,
he's like,
yeah.
I kind of need that. Fun fact. That's my soul
he does
as a
that
samurai.
thing. Like he's pretty like cool a lot of the
Yeah.
time, but when he gets really frustrated, the tips of his eyebrows like twitch like really
Yeah.
fast. I really like that.
Yeah.
That little bit is very good in the animation.
Yeah.
But yeah, they take his swords unwittingly, and then they have this eating contest as like an excuse to go like, yeah, we're starving. Like, hey, there's an eating contest. We'll just eat our like full amount. We won't have
Yeah.
to eat dinner or anything like
Yep.
that. Which smart. That's smart.
Yep, very smart.
But oh my gosh, Fu goes freaking bananas.
Yeah.
What did she? What was her method for her madness? She was like ousing this food. She was going nuts, and there's like this play-by-play going on too. It's
Uh-huh.
so good. I love
It's
this.
so good. It's
Food
so goofy.
stays winning.
It
Yes, I love it. I love
doesn't.
it.
Yeah, it doesn't make. This is one of those just nonsensical like sort of parts of the show where you just have to like suspend your disbelief a little bit with
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
it's just so funny seeing like these like samurai type people doing like this like eating contest in like you know they got like the announcer and everything and like yeah this
Oh,
is
that
a
guy.
real competition, you know. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy, that VO kind of made it for me.
Yeah.
He's just like, she's going back for another bowl! And everyone's like, oh! Yeah, and she's trying to keep pace with like this kind of like shadowy figure, right?
Yeah. This
It-
really
yeah, this
large
is
figure.
really-
She's like this small little girl, and like there's like this large
Yeah.
figure that she's like going against, but they're like keeping pace, eating all their. I forget what they were
I love
eating.
it.
I can't remember what they were eating, but it was like dumplings or something.
They were eating like a bunch of dumplings and soup
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
a bunch of bowls of very hearty food, very
Yeah.
nutritious food. I love it when people like clock out of this thing because when they do, they like go like, "Whoa!" and, like they're like rice everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
It's
so
such,
good. Like
yeah, it's such,
there's dudes that like take a bite and it goes like out of their nose.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh my goodness,
It's so good.
Oh, I love that. It's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he gets their swords at some point. The guy that
He
ends
gets
up
their
winning the whole thing.
swords, and then they're like,
Yeah.
And then Jin, I think, is like, hey, I kind of want that back. Can I like get that
Yeah.
back from you? And he's like, oh, well, I won this, but if you can show me around the city, you know, I'm not from this city, so I'd like a tour. And they're like, I don't think you're just not from this city, buddy. You're pretty sure you're not even Japanese, but sure, we'll show you
Pretty
around
sure
the city.
you're white. Like,
Yeah.
They're like very obvious. Like
Yeah.
you don't look like us, brother.
No, you don't look like us. Like, great, we'll take you around the city. That's fine, but don't
yeah.
pretend you're Japanese, dude.
Yeah, because he's got a very thick accent. He
Yes.
kind of talks like this. He's like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I'm Joji. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, Joji.
Okay, Joji, sure.
Yeah.
Let's just go
Yeah.
tour the city, all right? We want our swords back.
Yeah. At some point, he reveals himself, though. He's like,
Mhm.
he's the Dutch guy that we were talking about.
Yes,
right?
yep.
Yeah, this guy's the
Yep.
Dutch guy. He's very large. He's like a good head taller than even Jin, and Jin's pretty tall too. And yeah, like they kind of like, I forget like the actual points because we're kind of reading the recap again. But they kind of get into a tiff with like a bunch of other Hollanders, right? A bunch of other Dutch.
Well,
kind
yeah,
of.
the
I
Dutch
think
come
that's what happens.
to the samurai are after this guy because this is closed off Japan, so foreigners aren't allowed.
Right.
And
okay.
so
Yeah, given that
the
context,
shogunate is coming after this foreigner because foreigners aren't allowed, and the Dutch are like, no, this guy is literally allowed. Like, this is the guy, the one guy that is allowed here. Fun fact, like, he's very
Right.
important to the Dutch East India Company. And this is
Yeah.
another episode that has a character based off a real guy.
Okay,
this,
yeah.
this guy is based off.
Isaac Titsing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's a real guy. He was just a merchant, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of the idea.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess do they do this a lot where they are including real people, or is it only this initial?
There's a
beginning here?
few episodes. There's a few episodes that do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
These ones just happen to be
But
back to
yeah.
back, but
Okay, yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't know the first one was it. Yeah, they're not specific about being accurate, and then sometimes they are. You know, like
well,
it's
they're
kinda
not
funny.
accurate. They just like to throw
No.
in historical figures.
They throw it
sometimes.
in.
That's why
They
they have
throw
like
it
the
in.
warning, like, "Hey, we're not trying to be accurate here, guys. Don't sue us."
Right.
We just like throwing in
It's
these
very
characters. It's fun.
Right, it's very progressive though for this time that the show got made.
Yeah.
He's basically openly gay, this guy.
Yes.
And
Yep.
like he kind of talks about this commune of kind of like, you know, gay merchants or gay samurai or whatever, like
Yeah.
people in this region, right?
No, so a little bit of a little bit of context here. So he came to
Yeah,
Japan
please.
because Japan was, for the most part, fine with a lot of like the homosexuality and things like that. In fact, there was a whole classification of men. Gosh, I can't remember the term for it now, but there was a whole classification of men that were, essentially a third gender, basically.
Oh,
And
weird.
that
I had no
third
idea.
gender, yes, in that third gender, men were expected to and enjoyed relations with that, third gender of man. So, yeah, there was basically
This was not the case for women, right? This was just for men.
this was just for men. Yes, there was another separate gender classification for men, to have relations, men between men. I don't know much about the women between women relations of that sort of thing. I don't think that was really a thing in that, but I've read about that before.
Interesting.
So
I didn't know they classify them like that. That's very specific.
yes, it was a very specific classification. I think
That's fascinating.
and like, not to get too on the history deep end, but I'm pretty sure Rome
Yeah, that's
also
fine.
had like a classification sort of similar to that. So it's interesting how those very
Okay.
different cultures came up with something similar. But Rome also, a lot of the most famous emperors were also gay. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, you see that in like, I think it's in Gladiator 2. They have two gay emperors. I want to say
okay,
um,
that sounds
something like that.
sounds historically accurate. So I wouldn't.
I think so. I don't want to talk out of my rear end.
Sure.
They seem
I haven't
like
seen
they-
that movie
they
yet,
are.
but
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen bits and pieces. I need to
Yeah.
finish it. Maybe that's why I'm not as clear on it as I should
Yeah.
be. So, I'm putting myself on the line for that. But yeah, like
that's all good.
Fu gets the information about the samurai that she's looking for from him a little bit, where she's like kind of grilling him about it a little bit. He shows her something. It's like this like little mark or something, like this emblem. And he's like, don't show this to anybody. Go to Nagasaki. This is kind of where you need to go to find who you're trying to look for.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not clear at all. I don't even know what she's looking for, right? But that little bit there, I'm like, oh, okay. The real story is kicking in slightly. I like
Yes. Well, and this all takes place in, I believe they're in Kyoto for this, and that was
that. They're
like
in Kyoto.
that was the capital of Japan back then. That's why the shogunate
Right,
was
right.
there, and
Yeah.
so
It makes sense why he would be there too, because it's like political business. Almost.
yes,
Yeah.
it was yeah,
Political merchant.
yep, yep,
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, this is one of my favorite episodes. I think Joji's a delight. He's very fun.
yes,
I like I like the way he
Good
talks,
character.
I like the way he moves, I like the way he operates. He's a cool guy.
yep.
got
He's
a
all
good
right.
accent. He's all right. Joji is all right. Not as all right as Bonzo. I like Bonzo better,
That's fair.
but Joji is all right.
But back to
Yes,
back,
that's just-
two all right side characters is pretty good.
Yes, yeah, very
Pretty
good.
good.
And one of them ends up being real. That's cool. I kind of want to
Yeah.
do another deep dive on that guy. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, this is another like kind of sad episode, episode 7, a risky racket. It involves like a pickpocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like every episode, it feels like they're going to go eat. Like they're literally starting the episode with them going to go eat somewhere. Um,
Yes. It's such a good
so funny.
show because it portrays so much realism for this nonsensical sort
It
of
does.
show. It portrays them as just like real people that are like, we gotta eat. All right.
Yeah.
And like every time they need to eat, it's this whole adventure because they have to figure out a way they're going to eat.
Right. Yeah, and kind of like on the way, like their Foo's purse, like there's not a lot in there, but there's some money in there. It gets stolen by
Mhm.
this local thief, who he does the whole bump and run thing. He's like, "Oh,
Yep.
sorry, taking that," and
Yep.
she like doesn't she like does a pat down. She's like, "Oh my god, I'm
Yep.
missing my wallet."
Yep.
Uh, I've always been really scared about that, like someone doing that to me. I
Ugh.
I feel like I don't know, I don't know how that could possibly happen. How someone could be so quick, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, for her, it's like what a bag kind of. So that's
Mhm.
probably easy to nick.
Yeah.
She probably got it tied to her waist or something like that. So he nicks it, and she like chases him for a fair bit. She's like, "Where the hell you going with my money? This and that." Um, and yeah, she finds out he's trying to make a deal using it to get medicine for a sick mother. And I really like this little bit here because the mom's not like sure of what's going on, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Um, she just realizes that he's providing for her, but she doesn't quite know how.
Mhm.
Right? Isn't that's kind of what's happening
That
there,
is.
isn't
That's
it?
exactly what's happening. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and they kind of find out like through the mom what's going on, that like the dad abandoned them a long time ago, and the son's been kind of, like pull you up by your bootstraps, take care of the
Mhm.
family, sort of thing.
Yep.
And one thing turns to another, and normal people end up turning to crime. It's really sad,
Yeah.
and it kind of you see a lot of instances like that these days where people just have no place to turn to, no place to run,
Yeah.
and they do something out of character, and it becomes their personality almost because they
Yeah.
have to out of necessity. It's a really really sad state of affairs, I think. But yeah, what did you think of Shinsuke as a character? I liked him.
Yeah.
He was a really cool kid.
He was a
Yeah.
great character, but yeah, the big spoilers are coming up on this one. This one, I guess it's a spoiler
Yeah.
cast, but it's
Yeah, this is definitely a spoiler. Yeah,
it's
yeah. I mean, you can't talk about the story without talking
no,
about Shinsuke and what happens, right?
and yep, he yeah. There's this whole like kerfuffle with him getting like um, yeah, the I think Fu actually like confronts him, and then like the police find him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna take this girl and go in this tower, and nobody follow me."
Yeah, that was
And
his big issue there.
mhm. But then the
Yeah,
gang
that ends up
figures
kind of
out
being.
that they're in there, and so and then yeah, and then Mugen finds out that they're in there, and Mugen's like, "Oh, he's they've got Fu. I better go get her back."
Mhm, mhm.
um,
Yeah, that's Shinsuke's big mistake here, is that he takes Fu as a hostage, and so like that immediately raises everybody's alert. They're like,
yes,
he's gonna kill this girl,
he's
straight up. And
dangerous. Yep.
I don't know if he was actually going to or not. I feel like he would kind of do
No,
anything, but I don't know.
I don't think he would, but
Yeah,
I think it's just a threat that they had to believe was real, and that comes with consequences. And he made the
yeah, it
threat,
does.
and so while he's escaping, he's killed while he's escaping.
Ugh. He's like almost there. He gets like
Yeah,
shot jumping from roof to roof, and he
yeah.
just falls in like the alleyway. I'm like, oh my
Guys
gosh,
in
if
an
he like
alleyway.
made that jump,
Yeah,
he'd be okay.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's really sad. And Mugen like saves the day, whatever. But yeah, Shinsuke escapes and is killed.
yeah.
It's just like these little vignettes that you're seeing throughout, like little pockets of life here. Yeah, but like with this one and the mob boss and the lady, the
Pockets of
prostitute lady
tragedy,
leader.
really. This
Tragedy, yeah.
this show is like a mix between comedy and tragedy, and like it's kind of insane how they mesh those two genres so well. Honestly, like
Hmm.
they give great respect when they're doing sort of the tragedy pieces, but then the comedy piece is like bring the atmosphere back up, and it really is just like that, like almost that old like philosophy of like what a good play should be. You know, like a stage
Yeah.
play should be a good mix of like that
Right.
comedy and tragedy. And I think that's what this
Mhm.
show is really trying to embody. It's like, yeah, we've got the comedy bits and pieces, and then we've got like the serious tragedy
Yeah.
where we're trying to tell sort of a message. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that there's a good balance of tone here,
yeah,
where they can have the funny shit, the funny episodes where they're like eat food contests, and then they can have another one where tragedy strikes.
yeah,
That's fun.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, you'll have to fill me in a little bit on this next one. I'm going to be honest with you. I think when I was watching this one, I just watched it really late, and I think I missed some details on this one.
Oh, this one's
Um,
really good. This one's not bad.
Okay, yeah, I might need to go back and actually sit down and rewatch it. I caught bits and pieces through bleary eyelids, so I remember points of this thing, but I
Hmm.
think I was just trying to push to finish it. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's got this is about the singing swordsman. I remember him,
Yes.
Nagamitsu, right?
He's all
And
right.
they're hunting for Jin. Yeah, he's all right too. Yeah, this guy is very funny.
He's got like the
Doesn't he have a
pompadour.
pompadour?
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
And he's got this weird thing where he's just hunting any dude wearing glasses. Is that what it
Yes.
is?
Yep. He's
What
looking
is
for
oh,
glasses wearing samurai specifically.
So he's so dumb. Oh my gosh,
Yep.
this guy, he's just like Elvis in a gi. Like that's
Yep.
what he looks like.
Well, he heard about like this Jin guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat this Jin guy and prove I'm the strongest because this Jin guy killed his master." And that's like a big like revelation thing too that the party didn't realize was that Jin killed his master essentially. And so they're like, "Oh, that's
Okay, I
interesting.
remember
Jin's actually like there's a lot more to Jin than traditional samurai guy. There's a reason why he's a Ronin basically." Which makes sense. You don't become a masterless samurai for no reason. But yeah,
Right.
he killed off his dojo master that trained him basically. So, um,
Yeah, that's like one half of it, pretty
Mhm.
much. And the other half is what is it? Buddha Kiba.
yeah,
She's spiking their drinks and kind of
Yeah.
like saying like, "Hey, come here, boy," like just being
which
very
you
sensitive
think
to them.
Mugen at least would learn by now that like
I
if
know.
pretty ladies want to give him free drinks, not to take them, but. Because
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah.
at least the second time this has happened in this show.
He got roofied again, basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, you think he would know this by now? Yeah, because the first time he gets poisoned
Yeah.
really bad and he almost dies.
Yeah.
And he still fights.
Yep.
Somehow he conquers that dude, but like, yeah, he's kind of a dummy sometimes, but like he's smart a lot of the times. Like instinctually, he's smart,
Yeah.
but when he's actually using his brain, he even at some point says, "I don't know how to read" in this show, which is very funny to me. Which
Yeah.
it's not too out of step for the time either. That
No.
that fact of
Yeah.
people not being able to read. Right?
Well,
But
also,
yeah, he's very- yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like the islands that he's from wouldn't like be as like gung ho about like written things than like
Yeah,
the
right,
mainland Japan. So,
Mhm, mhm.
because he's from the sort of Ryukyu Islands, so
Mhm. Yeah, basically. So this is the point I think I kind of like. I was kind of like sort of thing. It's the whole thing where Mugen and Jin are unconscious after getting roofied, basically,
Mhm.
and then they earn money doing tricks. Kind of expound upon that a little bit. Kind of fill in the gaps here. From what you can remember,
I literally think they just do some tricks on like the street to
just
get
to earn money.
to
Yeah,
earn money
okay.
because they get all their I think they get all their money stolen by that Budokiba after she spikes their drinks, so they have like no money whatsoever. And
Oh,
so
right. So they gotta
Fu
have
is like,
access
all
to
right,
that.
you guys were out hanging with this lady and she stole our money because of you guys, so you guys are gonna help me get our money back. And so she just
Right.
kind of drags them, and they're like half drunk because their drinks were spiked, and they're like doing like like typical like samurai-ish tricks, and then like I think one of like Mugen does like sword swallowing or something like that, or like fire breathing or something. I don't remember, but stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
they, they were like clashing swords and stuff too, and everyone was
That too,
gathering
yeah.
in the crowd, going, "Ooh,
Yeah.
ah, yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah, for sure."
then they're doing like this public display, and so then Nagamitsu finally sees Jin. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna challenge you." And then one of Nagamitsu's like seemingly dumb followers is like, "Oh, finally, I found you. I had to follow this idiot all over the world
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
find you." He's like, "What? Ogre, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "This guy killed my master." And so,
yep,
um,
yep, yeah. He like kind of conscripts this guy unwittingly to go like, "Hey, you got to help me find these glasses guys." But the way like Nagamitsu like talks about it is like, "I'm looking for it," you know. So it's
mm-hmm,
kind of like a
mm-hmm,
mistaken purpose sort of thing, where
yep,
the guy on the sidekick, he's the real guy searching for Jin.
yep,
There's a good bit there too, where because
yep,
like Nagamitsu's kind of a moron, like a real moron.
yes,
So
yep,
yeah, that's a good bit. And they yeah, Jin are org a fight. Uh, but yeah, like he lets him win here, which is
yeah.
really interesting. I, I I guess I don't know why he let him win. Do you have a thought on that? Because Jin could have
Um,
won.
I
I think he
think,
could have.
yeah, I think it just has to do with like, their past, and yeah, they get into that more later on. The why of the master getting killed and things like that. So maybe it's not all black and white sort of a situation,
Maybe.
and Jin does feel for his fellow student. So
Right. Right. Yeah, that's right. They were fellow students of this
yep,
guy. That's right.
yep,
Yeah, for sure. And there's the bit at the end where the dog is kind of in on the whole thing with the sexy lady and the
mm-hmm,
pompadour guy. Like they're all kind of
mm-hmm.
a piece, which is really funny.
Yeah. Well,
And the
the
kind of the final shot's really nice. I like
the
the shot.
whole show, the whole episode, you have to keep in mind. Um, not Nagamitsu is trying to win the love of Fu. Like the
Yeah.
entire episode, he's like, "I will get you to, I will be the greatest samurai, and you will be my
Yeah.
girl," And
Right.
then,
Right.
um, except he's already married to Buddha
Yeah.
Kiba,
Yeah.
and they
And
have
she's
like,
also two timing him. Like she's
yes,
definitely doing that. Yeah.
and they have like kids and a dog and a boat, and
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. Like the way this
It's so
show wraps up
busted.
is
Yeah.
so ridiculous. It's so funny. It's like, no, like, yeah, he was just running after this girl just to run after this girl. Like he was just being stupid, basically.
They're just being unfaithful to each other, and it's
Yeah.
very like naked by the end. You're like, what are you guys doing? You guys have kids to think about. What the hell?
Yeah.
When I saw them together at the end, I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
This is weird. But because I'm like, why would you ever want to chase after somebody when you got somebody already? I mean, personally, I don't understand it. Because it's
Yeah.
not something I have to deal with.
Right.
But some people greener pastures. I guess I don't understand.
Who knows?
I
But
really
it's a
don't.
weird episode for sure.
It is. It is. Yeah, and it kind of like dips in and out of funny, not funny, funny, not funny, or funny and sad sort of
Yeah.
things. Kind of
Yep.
throughout this episode. This one, like I thought was going to be funny or like serious, but it turned out to be kind of funny. This
Mhm.
next one, and it's the border one. The
Yes,
border
I
which is
love
really
this
good.
one.
The end of this episode
It's
got
so
me rolling so
good.
hard.
Yeah, because they start
Yes.
out. It's one of those like outsider perspective ones, like the
Yep. Yep.
like the ukiyo-e one with Manzu.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this was like a border captain saying like,
Yep.
"Oh, there was I made my post every day without fail, except for that one day." and
there's
it was when I was
one
younger."
day that we
Yeah.
had to strike the record, and
Right, basically,
uh-huh.
it was so good.
It's
Yeah,
so
he's
good.
they're sentenced to death for like a bogus pass,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Wait, what? I
'Cause-
didn't know it was bogus. They bought it off of somebody, right?"
Yeah, again, in this sort of closed off Japan, you couldn't even like leave your town without like special
Oh, wow.
permission. Like you were stuck in your station.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was ridiculous just how like the class system worked and how like closed down everything was. Like if you were a peasant, you stayed where you were born your whole life. Like that's just
That's
how it was.
insane.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. I had
Yep.
see like you might be worried about adding context, but like that little bit there is super important.
Yeah.
Just to add flavor and kind of, landscape to this whole thing. When you're interjecting here with these little historical bits, it's like filling out the world for me because they don't ever say stuff like that.
And that's just kind of one of the downfalls of the show, I guess, is that they assume
Yeah.
that their viewers know this stuff because this is, a samurai show meant for people who like, Japanese history sort of stuff, really, or at least meant for Japanese people to consume more so than Westerners to consume. So if you don't have that like background knowledge, then you would just need someone to say, "Hey, this is why this is a big deal," or "This is why this is a big deal." So glad I can interject there and help fill in the gaps. But yeah, that's why
you're very knowledgeable about that.
Yeah. I like that sort of stuff. So I'm a history buff in general, but I really like Japanese history. So
yeah, for sure.
But
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the big reason why like they need these like border passes and things when they're trying to get from place to place. So
interesting. Yeah, that's really good. This has my favorite ending by far. I love the ending of this episode.
It's so good. It's so good.
So basically, the stipulation to not die
Yeah.
is to go to a task, basically. And Fu and Jean are basically holed up, waiting for Mugen this entire episode. Mugen's out doing this.
Yep, they're the
errand,
collateral.
basically. They're like, yep.
Mugen, you're gonna go deliver this criminal's head. I forget the reasoning why, but he has to deliver it to some government body.
He's just like a warlord sort of thing, and he's bad news, and they just want to get rid of him and kind of deliver proof of it because of
maybe that was it or something. But
yeah, and they're kind of up to something too, so they want to make sure that like the job gets done so nothing goes wrong because they've been kind of like suspecting his gang has been kind of coming.
No. So he's carrying around the head of this guy this whole time. He's got the head of this dead guy that he's sent off to go deliver. But he's sent off to deliver this to a some sort of governing body. I don't remember the significance of that criminal that because Mugen doesn't kill that. They kill him. They execute this guy at the border. And then they're like, "Oh shoot, we executed that guy," and I don't remember why that was like bad that they executed a guy, but they mistakenly executed this guy basically.
Okay,
at the border.
For the conflation, that sounds probably more right. I'm not thinking of it, obviously, but yeah, like the point is get this head from point A to point B.
Yep.
Mugen, do this. That's basically the idea.
Yep.
Not
and they
caught up with the reason.
Yeah, and then a little bit after they send off the narrator guy, a lot younger. They're like, hey, follow that guy. Make sure he actually does the thing.
And he gets like Mugen gets like sicked on by these Tengu guys in this forest.
Yep.
Like these bandits. Don't they like warn him about this a little bit?
Yeah.
A little bit? They go like, yeah, these guys are kind of hanging out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no problem. I got this.
Yeah, the border patrol guy's name is Yamane. It looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Mugen falls into a trap and Yamane frees him, and basically he sets fire to this herb store as a distraction to get Mugen out of there.
Yeah.
And the chain of events leading to the end of this episode is something I will remember for a while. Because, okay, you describe it a little bit. What's going on with this rap group, I guess? Who are these guys, and what is their plan? Tell me their plan.
Yeah, so,
These guys are so funny to me.
They're like a group of, like, estranged warrior monks. They're, like, fed up with the shogunate.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah,
wearing do-rags. Don't forget, they're wearing do-rags.
Yep. And they're like, we're gonna take down the shogunate.
That's so good.
And to do that, they have like this whole like, I think it's basically marijuana. It's got to be like basically marijuana.
Yeah, it's basically a hallucinogenic substance. They're wanting to like light or something. Yeah.
Well, they're wanting to. I think they're just selling it or something. I don't remember what they're wanting to do with this.
Wait, hold it. Weren't they trying to poison people? Maybe I think that might have been what it was.
I don't remember what they're wanting to do with the hallucinogenics.
They have all this resource to, they think, take down the shogunate.
Yes, they're gonna take down the
And
shogunate with these.
It backfires on them so incredibly.
Yes,
though.
because after they light this fire in this shed, then the shed it spreads to the like storehouse where they're keeping all of the marijuana or whatever, and it just they have so much of it stored up, and they have like entire fields of it that catch on fire, and it just so the good. Smoke of it just fills the air, and everyone's just breathing it in. And so there's this huge battle that's ensuing after they break out, and then like halfway through the battle they start to just like get like really high, like really high,
to the point where they're like wafting in the wind like reeds.
And and Mugen's like having like the trip of his life. He's like seeing like colors and like everything like stretching and zooming, and he's like, whoa, whoa.
That's a good one. Yeah, the animation there is very
it's
good.
So
I
good.
like that.
Yeah, and then
he's like hanging out with like the bandit leader, and they're just kind of going like kumbaya.
Yes.
This purple smoke.
And then it even ends up reaching like the border post. Like that's how much of this stuff is burning. And so all of the like the guards get high, and they just kind of Fu and Jin just kind of like leave because all of the guards are high.
They're just so doinked out of their mind.
Yes. Yeah, and then as Fu and Jin are like running away, they come across Mugen just partying with the one border guard and then the warrior monks. So they're all just partying, having kumbaya. And Jin and I think Jin and Fu aren't like doped up at all. And so they're like, "What the heck is he doing? Like, what's going on here?"
They knew he was. Yeah, they knew he was gonna go do something, and then they just find him in a field high off, high as balls.
Yes.
And he's like, "Where did you go?"
Yes.
Just from their like standpoint, their context, they have no frame of reference for what happened at all.
And the narration of this is so funny. It's like, yeah, and everyone loved each other that evening, and
that's
it was like,
oh my gosh,
yeah, it's like. There was no more war against, between the warrior monks and the shogunate. That, everyone got together and was happy, So it's so funny. It's a funny
It's
episode.
one of my favorite episodes. It's probably one of my top 3 favorite episodes. Honestly, this episode, the next, and the following are my favorites so far. I love these 3 episodes so much. So after the high gas incident, the kind of...
Such a good...
The fat doinks...
Such a good, just like nothing episode done right. Like nothing really advances in the story, but it's such a funny episode that it's such a good comedic relief sort of episode.
Honestly, no characters get like built up or anything. It's just like a funny situation that happens.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Yeah. I never when you asked me to watch the show, I never thought that would be an episode. Let's put
it
that way.
Yeah.
No, not even my wildest dreams.
Yeah, it's great. This show's great. I told you, it's a great show.
No, it's good. I really like it. The next episode I even like more. It's Lethal Lunacy. It's with the priest, and they want he wants them to clean their dojo and stuff.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Once again, they're in this situation because they need food and shelter. Food and shelter. And so this time...
the priest is like, I'll let you do work for me. I'll put you up and feed you. Yeah.
Yep. Do work for me, you get food and shelter. Yep.
Yeah. Like, they're like scrubbing floors. They're like painting the fence and stuff. Like, they're doing all these odds and ends. And honestly, like, if they really wanted to just post up here, they probably could. He probably would be okay with them hanging out with them.
Yeah.
I like it because, like, he's like, you're gonna do hard work, but I'm gonna take care of you. I really respect that, Fu's like doing errands kind of around town for this dude, and she hears about like a bunch of guys being killed, and there's like a bounty for the killer, and like the way that she's hearing is like, oh, these people are dying different ways, right? She's hearing about this, like it's not like from a sword cut or anything. It's like something else is happening. Like it's not clear, but they're not being killed by a weapon, is what they understand, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, Mugen is like pretty interested in this bounty because obviously money, and he likes killing things. It's like his two modus operandi, right? And yeah, he goes to the bar to drink, and a mysterious man is there, and they start talking, and he's like, he like sits at the bar, and doesn't he like have a little bit of money? And he's like, give me some sake, and the guy's like, that's not enough for
No.
sake. Like, give me
Yeah.
what this would pay for. He's like, trust me, it's not enough for sake. And then the warrior guy is like, you can have my sake. I was
Yeah.
always wondering, like, I'm like, oh, should he be drinking this? What if it's like laced with something? I don't know, maybe not.
It's
The,
always
the other
laced with
guy,
something for Mugen. But this was a
it
pretty
is.
lady this time, so maybe it's alright. And
Yeah, maybe it's all right. I don't know.
the guy was just drinking
Yeah,
it, so.
yeah, he was just drinking it. So I'm like, well, it wouldn't be like Wesley in The Princess Bride where he's like immune to all poison ever, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like that they have this like conversation. Mugen does not let on that he knows what's going on. I love this part. It
Mm-hmm.
shows his like instincts and intelligence here,
Mm-hmm.
even though he's not like the most brain smart at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have this conversation, they talk. He goes like, "Oh, you hear about these killers?" He's like, "Ah." It's basically a weather chat, but it's without
Yes.
hunting the guy he's talking to.
Yep.
They leave the bar, and like Mugen pulls a sword on him. He's like, "You're him, aren't you?"
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that was pretty tight. I
Mm-hmm.
like that whole bit there. What did you think of Mugen in the bar? I guess. What's your thoughts about
Yeah,
that conversation?
this is just part of the reason why Mugen is my favorite. I think
Yeah.
he just he doesn't need to he doesn't show off that he is very street smart, but he is very much street smart. Like he knows a killer when he sees one. He's like, this guy doesn't
Right.
act right. He's acting kind of strange.
Pretty sus.
Um,
Pretty sus.
yeah, he's like, this guy is the killer that he's hyping up this killer. He's like, that's gotta be the guy that's going around killing people if he's hyping this guy up so much.
Right. Yeah. He was talking like Mad Yang about it. He's like, oh, he
Yeah.
must be a big guy. He's really
He must be
dangerous.
really good, really strong,
Yeah.
really
Right.
unbeatable, whatever. Yeah.
hmm And up until this point, like you don't know how he's killing people really, but
Mhm.
like they're like combusting from the inside. That's what it looks like, at least
Yeah.
initially when he encounters that guy on the bridge that's kind of harassing him, right? And then you kind of find out like, wasn't it the teacher, or the priest was like, yeah, it's like this chi exercise of some kind,
Okay,
right?
so what
Yeah. So kind of
happens?
like talk me through it. Yeah, talk me through it.
So what happens is Shoryu was a student of the priest because the priest
Of
used
the
to
priest.
be a big samurai guy, and had like a whole dojo and everything. So he was a pretty big master of sword and whatever. Shoryu was his student, but then something happens to where Shoryu is shipwrecked in China, and
Mm-hmm.
so while he's in China, he learns how to use ki. He's taught by
Mm-hmm.
like Chinese monks there essentially how to use ki energy to
Yeah.
fight. And
But they say
so
they use that as like medicine, right? Kind of. Is that what they say? They say they use it for something other than fighting too. And he
yeah,
like learns this, like this inner core, this inner spirit energy.
yes, they it was used for a lot of things. That's like a big
Yeah, a lot of things. It's like multi-purpose. It's not just for fighting.
yeah, it's a big thing in like Chinese mythology and history and things. But so basically, yeah, they have the key, and so Shoryu learns that, and then he makes his way back to Japan after learning the key attacks, and he's like really changed since like that. Like he's no longer like cares to even like
Right.
have um he's just kills a guy during training for no reason, and he's like,
Because
what
he's
are
stronger than him.
yeah, he's just
Yeah.
stronger than him. So he's like, oh, I just killed him because I could. And the teacher's like, what? No, we don't do that during training, dude. What are you on? And and so then the teacher's like, well, I couldn't essentially teach Shoryu correctly, so I need to kind of atone for my sin of creating Shoryu essentially, and
A
so
monster. Yeah.
and so he's like, I so he gave up being a teacher and became a monk, basically.
Right, and that there's that really good line he has. It's something to the effect of like, Shoryu gets pissed about this. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Oh, I'm getting kicked out. Why? Why?"
Yeah.
And the teacher's like, "The fact that you don't know why is a big problem here.
Yeah.
You just killed a guy, and
Yeah.
like that's just not gonna fly. And yeah, Shoryu's basically said like, yeah, I am the biggest baddest motherfucker of them all. I'm going to anybody that comes up to me, they're done. They're
Yeah.
done. And you see in like the doesn't he fights somebody, and they show like the impact of the chi on him. I think on the guy
Mm-hmm.
he kills, and so
Yeah.
it's like this telltale mark of like this power being like kind of like "Whoa," like kind of like this spirit energy being rocketed towards him. And he kind of
Yeah.
channels it through his sword sometimes, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's through his body.
It's
You
kind of
know,
out of place for this show that's been like fairly grounded in
right? Yeah,
reality sort of
it's like
stuff.
magic
But
almost. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, in the historical context, I mean, Chi was considered a big deal, so it makes sense to include a piece on it and have it be this sort of real
yeah,
force, in this I guess almost theatrical version of medieval Japan. So
yeah, yeah. Basically, yeah. And you kind of see in this flashback what it does, this chi attack, right?
hmm
And when Mugen fights him, he's like, "Oh, you look tough. We'll see how tough you really are." Until he gets hit with a chi blast, he's like,
yeah,
"What is going on here?"
yeah.
Um, so don't they fight initially, and then like kind of Mugen kind of runs off, doesn't he? He like
Um,
tries to fight another day, doesn't he?
Well, I think they get like stopped. I think the police like
Okay.
find them
Oh, right.
battling.
They start chasing. They start chasing Shoryu, and
Yeah.
he hightails
Yeah.
it. And so Mugen from that point starts training, and doesn't he like he like learns some amount of chi and during this sort of kind of like
I
training,
think
right?
he learns how to deflect it somehow, if I remember right.
Deflect it, okay, but he's like channeling it in a very cursory, very weak way,
Yeah.
where when he re-engages Shoryu, he's kind of shocked that he can, defend and counter it,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Um, yeah, there's
Sure,
that
he's
really good bit
shocked.
there
He's
where
like, nobody's ever been able to figure out, how to fight against my ki. And
right,
Mugen's like, well, I'm literally a fighting machine. That's what I do. So I figured it
yeah,
out. That, that
mhm,
like that's his whole thing is that he's good at killing people. So he figured out
yeah.
how to kill this guy.
Yeah, a couple parts of this fight that I really like is he gets on top of Mugen at some point, channels the key into his sword. I was like, this is really cool, but that's the point where it really became very magical to me.
hmm
Where I'm like, okay, you can't do this too much. Like if you're trying to establish it as semi grounded, like it's a show, it's a cartoon, obviously, but like I do appreciate that they're not taking it too seriously, but they're keeping it relatively grounded in terms of realism.
hmm
Um, as realistic as they can be. It's of a piece in the world, right?
Yeah.
Um,
The
yeah, I like
key
that bit
has
where he's like
historical
questioning it.
context, so I'm willing to forgive it. I'm pretty sure it's only
Sure.
in this episode, anyways. So
Yeah, yeah. It's that historical context that keeps it relevant, I think,
yeah,
which I like. But yeah, he ends up killing him kind of underhandedly. I think, like he gets rid of his sword, and like Shoryu's he's about to get him here. He
yeah.
like busts him against the support beam of a bridge, and Mugen like as soon as Shoryu gets up, he like pulls like this. Isn't it? It's like a hidden knife in his
hmm
scabbard. Isn't that what it is? Okay, I didn't know if it was a knife for seppuku or what. Is that a historical
Well,
thing?
yeah,
To have
it's
an
a
extra knife in
historical
there?
thing. You typically have like three different swords as a samurai. You'd have a long blade that was for like actual like combat. You'd have like a medium blade if you just need to like cut a guy real quick, or if you lost your longer blade or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you'd have the shorter blade for like seppuku. So you usually I think they'd carry like three swords.
Mm,
But
gotcha. Gotcha.
so that would be like one of those like little like seppuku sort of
Yeah, little knives.
blades. Yeah, and they use
Yeah.
it for other stuff too, obviously. But
Yeah, like cutting stuff.
letter
Yeah,
openers, anything. So.
letter openers. Yeah, like Hatero, the guy who kills himself early in the season, he uses something to that effect to kill himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Unfortunately, but Yeah, that's pretty much that episode. I like the action in this one. I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
a good
really well done.
episode. It's yeah, it's
Mhm.
it gets a little too fantasy, but I think
Yeah,
it
I think we both
recovers.
agree. Yeah.
I think it's acceptable at least because I think this is the only time that something like that really happens. It also, yeah, it's historically accurate. You know, for like the at least like the idea of it is historically accurate, so it's forgivable.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, these last three episodes have been my favorite so far. And this final one, episode 11, that we're going to cover here. The 12 is a recap. We'll probably talk about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If not tonight, then another episode. Uh, the Gamblers and Gallantry. This is my favorite one, like by
Yeah,
far. I love this episode. I
it's
think
a really
it's
good one.
beautifully done. It's very, it's mostly pretty tranquil, um, but it's heartbreaking.
It's a Jin
It is
episode.
heartbreaking.
It's a very much a Jin
It's a Jin
episode.
episode, and
Yep.
yeah, you don't get a lot of Jin focused things. It's a lot of food, a lot of Mugen. So
Yep.
seeing Jin really be focused in this very somber episode, I really liked. But yeah, like they're stuck in town during like there's like like a rainy spell, and they obviously can't move during that because they're walking on foot everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to find work obviously because of the bare necessities, like always. The template of like, hey, we need to eat, sleep. That's definitely what they're doing here again. Um, I love the Mugen scene here with the rhinoceros beetle where he's betting on it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't get
There's
enough
like
of
this
it. He's
whole
just like,
arc
come on.
where he's like trying to
Yeah.
train the thing too to like
Hmm.
be better. It's so
Yeah.
goofy.
So the first time, like everyone's voting against him, and then the other time he wins, and everyone's like, ah. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has this like rocky training arc with
Yeah.
this beetle.
Beetle. Yeah. It's so
Mugen's
good.
pretty like low key in this one. Uh, like you said, it is a Jin episode.
Yep.
It really feels that way.
Mugen's
Um,
just doing
yeah,
Mugen things in the background.
right, right. Yeah, he's just doing random non sequitur stuff.
Yeah.
He's honestly the comic relief here.
He is.
This
Yep.
one. So remind me of the whole eel vendor stuff. How did Jin find himself there? I forget.
Okay.
Like, did he just show up and go like, "Hey, you're taking over"? I forget what happened.
So, Jin is because this happens before the eel vendor stuff. Jin is
Yeah.
walking along and he sees this woman that looks very sad and is looking down
Right.
over a bridge, and he's like, "Hey, you're not thinking about jumping, are you? That's probably not a good idea."
Right.
She's like, "What? No, of course not. I would never.
I would never.
Yeah, even though I'm looking longingly into the bottom of this bridge. And then he ends up getting this job at this eel vendor because they need money. They're always trying to
Right.
find ways to get money. So he gets this job at
Right.
this eel vendor, um, and that woman comes up and she's like, "Hey, I'll take an eel." He's like, "Yeah, sure, okay, I got this."
He doesn't even know how to do it.
He doesn't know how to do it, and so she's like, "Okay, I got this." So she kind of helps him with the eel vendor thing. She's like, "Can you at least like cut these things?" So he's like, "Yes, that is the one thing I know how to do is cut things."
Yeah. But even then, he's like trying to cut it, and she's like, "No, don't hack at it.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to really cut
Yeah.
this." Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a good bit there. I like the whole cooking scene and like all the customers coming up, even in the rand. They're like, "I want two, I want three," and
Yeah.
they're making them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time he makes it for her because he doesn't know how to do it, she's like, "That's probably the worst thing I've ever had," and she eats it all too.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, that's a great little bit there.
Mhm.
But yeah,
That was just
that
the culture.
exactly. Yeah, I love the framing of this entire like cart in the rain, and there's like little lanterns in the cart,
Mhm.
but it's like dreary and raining. She's got her umbrella behind her, so she's not getting rained on. It's beautifully composed shot. It's probably my favorite shot of the entire show so far.
Yeah.
Besides the weed tripping, that was a good bit there too, where he's like tripping balls. That's a
Yeah.
but this one is just it's so artistically done.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful stuff, and like this is when she admits to him like what's really going on, right? She kind of talks about like, hey, this is my last day of freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad. And he's like, why is that? He's like, well, I'm gonna go be a prostitute. And then she's like walking off saying this. He's like, what? Like, what are you
Mhm.
talking about? And she's like, yeah, I gotta go pay off my husband's dead. He's a gambler. He's a degenerate gambler, and I'm like, oh no. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of why she was staring longingly on the bridge.
Yep.
She probably was contemplating suicide slightly, but maybe not actually. I don't know. Um,
Who
I
knows?
mean, Jin seems to think initially that she is, but even
Yeah.
she's like, I'm playing it off. But just that
She was thinking
reality, I
about
just
it.
can't.
Thinking about it.
She was, even though it was in a cursory way. It's
Yeah.
like one of those intrusive thoughts maybe she had, where
Mm-hmm.
she was like, I could just kill myself and be over with,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you know that entire bit is really really sad. And she becomes a prostitute the next day, and Jin like visits her from time to
Mm-hmm.
time, and he doesn't do anything, and like he's like loitering at this point.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of nights where he just kind of hangs out,
Yep.
you know, and she's like, "What are you doing here? You can't be here. I'm working this and that." Um, and this is when they get their names, right? What do they say at this point? Like she has a name and he's got a name, but she like downplays it, going like, "I won't need that anymore," right? Is that what she says?
Basically, yeah. She's like, yeah, it does. My name's Shino, but doesn't really matter because, you know.
I'm in servitude now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad. Um, and Jin says something really profound here. I forget what he says, but oh, I would stay here happily if it meant I could be here with you. I hope the rain never lets up because it means I
Mm-hmm.
get to stay in town with you. I'm like, oh, as a romantic at heart, I'm like, that is really sweet.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, at some point he gets harassed by like the kind of proprietors of this establishment, the pimps or whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
and they kind of beat him in the street, and he lets them. He just
Yeah.
lets them. I think he's feeling bad for himself,
Well, he doesn't want to
in
stir
sort
up
of a
trouble for
situation.
the girl either.
Right,
So.
that too. Yeah, that too. And then he eventually pays to be with her, and this is really interesting. Like he actually has sex with her. Um, I didn't know if he was going to do that or not because he's like actually in love with her.
Yeah.
You know, um, and it's just really interesting. And at this point, he's like, "Yeah, we should go," and she's like, "I can't go." He's like, "Well, we need to." Kind of. I guess what are your thoughts on this entire scene? It's really interesting. Like seeing Jin show some real emotion is fascinating to me.
Yeah. I think the like having to go thing is like he finds out that like not only is she like stuck here because of her husband, but her husband's also
Yeah.
abusive, and so
Right.
her husband will like come and visit just to like beat her up and collect money and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really really abusive sort of like very bad relationship that she's stuck in because of the times in the
Right.
culture, and so
And since it's raining, like everyone's kind of stuck in one place. So like, Fu and Jin and Mugen are kind of just holed up, waiting for
mhm.
the storm to pass. And like in between, like visiting her and going away and stuff, or heading back, like Fu goes like, "You keep seeing this lady in town. Like, what's the deal?" She's like, "You like actually love her, don't you?" And he doesn't like say much to that.
Mhm.
Jin is a very very stoic personality. Um,
Mugen's funny here. He's like,
but
I thought you were gay. Like, I had never even
yeah,
seen
yeah,
you go
that's a good
after a lady.
That's a good bit. He's like, "Yeah, I thought you were gay." It was very funny given the progressive, honestly, the very progressive nature of the show,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of funny given the time it came out. It was 2004, and
Yeah.
it wasn't widely accepted like it is now.
Yeah.
That just displaying that in media, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty
They
fun.
display a lot of progressive ideas in this show. It's a
It's
very,
very
progressive
progressive.
show. Yes.
Like shockingly so,
You're
given the time.
yeah.
It came out in '04, I want to say. So
It's not a show for
but yeah,
people
like
who don't like to see that sort of thing. That's for sure.
right, yeah, yeah, that's for sure. But whatever.
It's better
I
for
think
it, I
people
think.
like that suck.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I think
So.
I think prudes need to go away. That's what I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, like going back to Jin, like he's kind of having this discussion with her, and yeah, he encounters the husband kind of beating up on her, and just like, "I'm gonna bleed you dry,
Yeah.
girl," and all this stuff. You're never gonna leave. Um, and he beats him up, and the wife is like, "No, you need to stop," and They end up like escaping. Thank God,
Yep.
they actually make it out. He
Yep.
hears about this like halfway house for girls, right,
Yep.
across the river.
Yep.
Where does he hear that from? I forget who tells him about this.
I don't remember the specifics on it, to be honest.
Somebody tells him about it, and he's like, "Oh, okay, this would be perfect for her to like live her life," you know.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole boat scene is so poignant for me. They get to the docks. They're being chased by the brothel guards and
Yeah.
the husband and all this
And like
stuff.
the whole town guard, I think, is out for him too, or something. Like some.
Yeah,
ridiculous
everybody is out
army.
for Jin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just them two versus him, or versus them.
I think
It's
Mugen
like,
shows up
man.
too to help at some
He
point
does.
during
He
it.
shows up at the very end after Jin has handled everything, pretty much.
Is that right? Okay.
Pretty much, because like he kills all the guards. He kills like the I think he kills the husband too, doesn't he? I want to say
I don't
he
remember.
does.
Yeah.
Maybe Mugen does. I can't remember. The husband doesn't end up making it out. I think.
Good.
Uh,
Good riddance.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
Yeah.
That guy sucks.
He's not all right.
Yeah, I think Jin cuts him down when he's like, "You can't leave. I'm gonna keep bleeding you dry forever.
Yeah.
You can never. You're always gonna be in slavery because of me, you know."
Yeah.
And I think Jin cuts him down, and there's that little bit there where she thinks he's gonna come with her on the boat, and he pulls away at the last second. You see her face kind of drop, and she's like, "Oh, he was intending to do this the whole time. He was trying to get me across, you know." But like he was intending to do that the whole time. But like he said something different. He's like, "We should go together. We should go away forever," you know. And yeah, that little moment they have while she's kind of drifting across the lake is really, it touched something in me. I was like, man, that's so heartbreaking, you know. And it's a quick like little romantic thing. But I think, you know, in another life, I think Jin probably would have gone with her. But yeah, I don't know if it's a matter of like he wanted to stay and help Fu, or if he just felt like that's what he needed to do instead of that. I don't know. I guess what is your take on Jin seeing her off by herself? What do you think about this boat scene?
I don't think that Jin felt like. I think Jin would have followed her if he didn't have all of the baggage from his own past weighing him down. He didn't want that baggage to weigh her down.
Right.
I think that was a big part of it. I don't think the Fu portion of it mattered that much in this scenario. I think it was more so his own past tying him down.
Sure. Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, it's a really sad end, but it feels like it had to go that way. It didn't feel like it's something that could have lasted anyway. And I think she'd be better off starting a new life and starting anew, you know. But yeah, that was by far my favorite episode. I love that episode so much. Beautifully done, beautifully rendered, acted. I think the performance for Jin is underrated here. I think the guy that plays him is excellent in this episode. Very understated, but you can sense the emotion behind Jin, because whenever he says something with a, you know, intent, like you feel that like kind of rage boiling up behind his words, you know. Good stuff. And then we have the recap episode. It's basically just, you know, them talking about all the stuff that's happened before. They get into like Fu's diary and they start commenting about the adventures and what she thought about certain episodes and stuff. It's like a fun thing for people that need to catch up. It was good for me because it had been a while since I watched the first like half of the half we actually watched, so the first quarter of episodes, right? So it was a fun little flavor, but 13 and 14 is another two-parter, and it gets back into high gear the next episodes for sure. So yeah, it's the first half-ish of Champloo pretty much done. I thought it was very good. It keeps getting better. I think better and better. The last 3 episodes are proof of that, I think. Out of all of them, what is your favorite episode, I guess? What do you think?
I'd say out of these ones, probably. I like that first episode's really good.
You like that first one? It's got to do a lot of establishing. You're right.
that first one's really good. But I think the weed one is just so funny. I gotta go with that one.
Oh, it's so
That
good.
one's just
I
so
love
good.
that
It's
one.
so funny.
I think it works for multiple tones, especially. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I think story wise, I like the Jin episode. That was a
That
really
Jin
good, like,
episode's really
nutshell
good.
episode.
Yeah, I'm surprised
Yeah.
Jin isn't your
Kind of.
favorite because of that episode.
Yeah, I just Jen's really. I just feel like I haven't got enough of him yet.
Yeah.
That's really how I feel. Maybe I change my mind later. Right now, it's Fu. She's the MVP for me. And I like Mugen too, for sure. In the next batch of episodes, the first two is the two-parter, and it's very Mugen heavy. So that's a. I like that first bit of those that we watched, but yeah, top level, we both like the show a lot. You love it. I like it a very very good deal.
Yep.
We talked about kind of like splitting this up a little bit because we've just finished a project that we're kind of looking to kind of develop more fully in like a game format. Like we're looking to cover the Dark Souls from soft games, whatever. I guess you would call them from soft games. We're looking to do that, so that's probably going to be our next thing for a stopgap in these off weeks, and we will finish Champloo probably after we do the Dark Souls 1 stuff. So that's what we've talked about anyway. If that changes, you'll see it on the feed for sure. Um, we can always sit down and talk about this next batch of episodes whenever. So, yeah, I have a lot of stuff going up. We got some more Stick Drift going up here very soon. Yeah, any final thoughts for those listening out there?
No, I just think that this is kind of an important show. Just with like
Yeah, okay.
I think the setting and themes of this show, it shows like very intentional like message of it has like themes of like acceptance of death, which that's
Yes.
some good theming. I'm historically I like that of Persona 3, and so that
Yeah.
this has a lot of like that sort of like death is everywhere and inevitable, but it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like this. I guess there can be meaning in that, and
Yeah.
people's like stories can continue on after that. And that's another theme of the show is just like finding like your identity, like finding one's own like identity. That's a really important theme of this show, as well as like all of these like characters are just trying to find their place in this world, essentially.
Right.
And that's kind of what they find in their travels. Like all these different characters are just like, yeah, I just want to find my place in the world, and then the other really important part of this show, I think, that needs to be emphasized, and why this show needs to be shouted out more, is just its progressive themes. Like this show is incredibly progressive for its time, especially.
Yeah.
And just like because there's pieces of it that have to do with the Ainu people, which only just recently were officially recognized in Japan as a minority people. Has to do with like the just like foreigners in Japan in general, which that's a big topic thing even today in Japan. Like how to treat foreigners and relate with foreigners and things.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like the LGBT themes, specifically with I think it's mostly just surrounding homosexuality between men, but
Right.
yeah, it's still very progressive. So
Very progressive.
yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
I agree with
just
you.
it's got a lot of cool themes to it. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
acceptance
I guess
of like
for-
other people. Yeah.
Right. It's tolerance mostly in
Yeah.
a intolerant time. Like it feels
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
for a lot of things. And like you're talking themes. It's not just like death being this something that you can find meaning in. It's death being a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
people really. It is a way of life for for some people.
Yeah.
It is a cruel reality for some people. It's
Yeah.
a tragedy for even more. Like there's death throughout this, and it's a commonplace occurrence in that society, and it's just fascinating to see. When you talk about things historically that you kind of bring up, it's fascinating to see that reality be depicted um, so clearly. It goes like, hey, usually like the consequences for sin is death in this time. Like a
Yeah.
lot of the time it is, even if it seems silly. So it shows you just how high stakes living in this place would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good. I'm excited to cover the back half at some point here very soon.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the first. Let's call it 12 episodes of Champloo. I think
Yep.
the recap is fine. We'll call it the first 12. I need to change the thumbnail for that. We'll get to that at some point. But yeah, this has been Tape Stuck on the first half-ish of Samurai Champloo.
Samurai
I've been Power.
Champloo. Ow.
Samurai Champloo! Put your pop here! Yeah, like that. I've been Power, he's been Noah, and we're going to leave you alone now. Bye. ASMR out.